Using scatter plots to interpret data is pretty easy. First off, what you do is you try to figure out what type of relationship that you see on that scatter plot. And for 8th grade math, there's really just 3 basic relationships that you'll be exposed to. So we'll take a look at those. The very first one is called a positive relationship. And if we relate it to what we know with lines, if that line is going up to the right, that would be a positive slope. And if you can imagine trying to draw a line through the middle of all the dots that you see on a scatter plot, like I've done there, then you could go, hey, that's a positive relationship because that'd be like a positive slope of the line. And it's very easy to see that the trend is going up and to the right. Now, basically, though, that means that as the x's get bigger, your y's are getting bigger also, and that's the relationship. When we take a look at what's called a negative relationship, it's almost the exact opposite. As the x values get bigger and bigger and bigger, the y values actually start to shrink. And what you see there is like a line that had a negative slope. So if we were to draw a line through there, it'd be going down to the right. And so that's linking it back to the linear equations that we've learned about earlier in the year. Now, the last one is ones that basically make no sense. It's called a no relationship, and that's where, as the x values get bigger and bigger and bigger, you can't really predict what the y values are going to do, and so it has like the scattered effect. The grouping is just all over the place, and you can't really see a pattern. I could definitely draw a line this way, but I could also draw another line this way, or straight across, or vertical. There's so many different ways that you can draw a line, and it's different when you see the negative relationships because there's only one way that you could draw a line, or the positive relationships there's only one way that you could draw the line that really makes sense. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about using scatter plots to interpret the data. There's 3 different types, and now we want to take a little bit of a closer look to see that in action when we actually know what the x-axis and y-axis are representing. So here's a scatter plot, and you can see, all the points are labeled. The x-axis is the temperature, and I would assume that would be in Fahrenheit. And this is the number of ice cream cones sold. As far as like what it's representative of, there's no title on the scatter plot, but if it was like Bill's Ice Cream Shop, you could see that when the temperature is cold, he doesn't sell as many. But as it gets warmer, he's selling more and more ice cream cones, and that kind of makes sense. What type of relationship do we see here? Well, it is a positive relationship. Now, again, we don't want to just like generically categorize as a positive relationship. Sometimes there are questions that are just asking that, but we want to delve in a little bit deeper because we want to interpret this data. What does this mean about the temperature and the number of ice cream sold? Well, we'd already mentioned it before. It means as the x value, or the temperature, increases, the number of ice cream sold will increase. And if we looked back again about what a positive relationship is, say this looks like the graph that we're looking at, that trend of going up, every increase in x makes an increase in y. If it was a negative relationship, you would just remark about how as the x increased that your y values started decreasing. And if you saw no relationship here, you would say, well, there's no relationship between the x value and the y value, in this case the temperature and ice cream sold. However, I think that we do recognize that the hotter it is, the more ice cream that is most likely sold.